What advice would you give somebody who's, just starting out in marketing?
Most importantly, it's not about you. Like, it is not about you. It's about the people. You are serving other people. And it's not that you're getting them to come on board. No, you're figuring out a way of how you can serve them, which brings it to the other important point that this is a human-centered job. It is about empathy, and the more empathy you have, the more that you can understand people and how they operate and appreciate how they operate despite the differences. That is where you're gonna win.
That's awesome. That's deep right there. That's why I wanted you on. While you were at South Carolina, I saw that you were part of the Gamecock PR team. Did you find it valuable, and what did you do there?
Yeah, it's so funny because that was so long ago and I forgot that I did that. But yeah, gosh, I honestly, I remember being in that setting and brainstorming ideas with other people, and I think that was the biggest takeaway from me. I mean, we definitely helped put out articles and things like that, but the professor that led that group was extremely talented, and I think just being able, that was a really good team environment of being able to bounce ideas off one another and kind of understand. um, there were a lot of different viewpoints because there were so many people in there, and so thinking through what could be good ideas and how to get people on board and intrigued was probably one of the biggest things there. And I enjoyed that.
Yeah, definitely. And it was all student led with one instructor there, or how did it
Yep.
work?
Mhm.
That's great. That's great hands-on experience right there.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was great.
Yeah, and then I saw on your LinkedIn that you are a resident cheerleader. So in your words, what's a resident cheerleader?
Yeah. I think so. My One of my biggest strengths is encouragement, and I for the longest time I just didn't understand how that fit into the workplace. Because I am also a very emotional human. And I, for the longest time, and I could probably write a book on this and actually want to share more of this story. But I'm just not sure how to go about it quite yet. Um, However, for the longest time, I just didn't feel like I fit in the corporate world and workplace. And also when I got out of school in 2012, so that was over 10 years ago now, and it was that corporate world was a lot different. It's come a long way, and for that, I am entirely grateful. But because I was emotional and didn't understand how to put on a mask in a workplace,
Hmm.
I can do that to an extent. I understand that you have to change faces from client to internal to personal life, and that always comes with the territory, but it wasn't necessarily like obvious to me that I could hold them equally.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that has been the biggest part of that. So, yeah, I getting into the workplace has been interesting, but being able to be fully yourself
Hmm.
in a professional way, um, has been probably one of the biggest areas of growth there for me. So another big part of me is I have battled depression, especially for the past 4 years of my life. And I think that's where that gifting I kind of realized that the encouragement is, yes, for other people, because empathy, like, you have no idea what people are battling, and especially in the workplace where people are taught that they can't bring that personal stuff inside, that sometimes acknowledging the just, hey, you're really good at this, or like, I saw you do this and I just really appreciate it, and
Hmm.
just like pinpointing those things, so it's not um face value compliments. I mean, of course, those are great too, but it's putting a reason behind it too. Hey, I'm really thankful for you because of this. And I also, a big part of that as well is like, I don't want um people to just think they're valuable because of the work or the effort that they put in. I
Mhm.
want you to know that you're valuable because of who you are,
Mhm.
just as a human. And so I think that's a really important piece too. And so understanding from where I came from is that I need that. I need that validation, and I need that like, I need somebody to recognize that in me. Words of affirmation are huge for everyone.
Mhm.
Um, and so being able to offer that to other people is extremely important, but it's also that comes from a place to where I know, yeah, I know that I need that. And so I want to be able to give that to other people as well. And so, yeah, I'm self-proclaimed resident cheerleader. I'm always going to be in your court and cheer you on, and, encourage you in your gifting, and what in your pursuits of what you want to do. If there's a way that I can help you, and, in any way, I want to be able to do that. So,
Yeah, that's perfect. I love that because I need that too, and I get encouragement from that as well. So I really appreciate you doing that for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Hey, so at Up and Up as an account executive, what do you do there?
It's so funny. So my role actually consists, and it's funny, all the things that you listed off in my LinkedIn history has actually, it's all accurate, but I was a designer for 10 years. I come from the design world.
Hmm.
And so I didn't go into PR. I went into graphic design, and that's what I know. Branding is what
Mm.
uh, my specialty is, and then I fell into brand strategy. But I took a leap this year, and I was on the cusp of starting my own brand strategy department in my last role at my previous company,
Hmm.
and decided to take a leap into, before I'm leading other people, I'm self-taught,
Hmm.
like, straight up. And I'm great at it, but there's so much more that I need to learn. And so I took on this role, and it consists of account management,
Hmm.
obviously, but we also do sales, we do the internal marketing, and we have a team of 3. And I also do help with the brand strategy for our clients.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's great. And now, since you made the move from design to marketing, what advice would you give somebody who's just starting out in marketing?
Um, there's so many different facets of marketing. And so don't be afraid to explore them. But there's something in there for everybody.
Mhm.
Um, and you have to be able to consider yourself a creative, because you are one. Everybody is creative in some way. So there's an analytical side to marketing, there is a strategy side to marketing, there is a creative side, or like design side of marketing.
Mhm.
Um, and so there's plenty more, but there are so many different facets of it, that don't just think that your first role or your first look into it is an end all be all.
Mhm.
Um, there is a place, but, be willing to give yourself room and time to find what sparks you, what interests you, and because that excitement that you get is what's going to help you in your career. I mean, you have to have that to keep going, to stay motivated, and to really produce great work.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you evolve the longer you're in the field as well.
Absolutely. Yes.
So what's one of the most important lessons you've learned thus far as a marketer?
Ooh. I would say I took a couple of notes, so I'm going to look at this. The most important lessons was, number one, never stop being curious.
Hmm.
So you're never going to learn it all, and there's always so much more to learn.
Mm.
Um, but baby steps, you can't do it all at once. Um, The second one is you have to be flexible and adjust the sales as needed, because as soon as you think you have something happens that you didn't plan for, and that's okay, but you have to be able to move and adjust. Um, Also, marketing isn't a one-man show. I know people joke about that all the time.
Hmm.
And I think in some cases, like it does fall on one person, but it takes a team to have an overall goal to understand how to do your job well. And so it takes input from a lot of people.
Yeah,
Uh, and
100% agree.
yeah. Um, Most importantly, it's not about you. Like, it
Mhm.
is not about you. It's about the people you are serving other people. And it's not that you're getting them to come on board. No, you're figuring out a way of how you can serve them, which brings it to the other important point that it is this is a human-centered job. It is about empathy, and the more empathy you have, the more that you can understand people and how they operate and appreciate how they operate despite the differences, that is where you're gonna win.
That's awesome. That's deep right there. That's why I wanted you on. I love that. It's awesome. Perfect.
Uh,
Perfect. Hey, um, so you're Gen Z, right?
I'm a millennial,
Millennial,
hardcore.
I'm
Yeah,
a
like,
millennial
deep
too.
in the
So,
middle of it. I
okay, okay.
appreciate that, though, like,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
much. Huge compliment.
Uh, hey, at Up and Up, because I know I met you at the higher ed marketing conference. Do you guys
Yeah.
specifically serve higher ed or anybody?
We do. We serve higher ed. We got really niche down about 10 years
Okay.
ago. Our company has been going for about 20.
Uh-huh.
Um, but we realized how much, well, not that that was a realization we've always known, but like education changes the world. And
Hmm.
it's really important. And if we can uplift those people who are serving others to get educated, that's what we want to do. Um, and so, you know, education is the key to pretty much life and what you allow yourself to get exposed to and what you learn. And that doesn't always have to be in higher education. Um, and so we do things occasionally outside of higher education, but those are our main clients.
Okay. And now, what social media platform do you advise your higher clients to be on and able to target their Gen Z audience?
The one, I mean, I think it's obvious TikTok would be biggest, but I know there are others out there that I am not as familiar with. However, I really do think TikTok is huge and it's going through a little bit of changes in terms of like who's gonna keep it open and who's gonna ban it. But um, it started as a trendy thing, but I it's more than dances. There are a lot of I would venture to say that there are a lot more lurkers on there than engagers.
Okay.
And so there are a lot more people watching
Mhm.
um, than you might think. And it's also being used as a search engine almost like, I mean, by so many instead of Google. Like it's been,
Wow.
said that people are using that to find so many different things. And I find myself doing that as well. Um, and so I really do think that's probably the winning platform right now. I could definitely be proven wrong on that, but um, and it goes across all generations too.
Mhm.
So there's people from every generation on there that are active. But for Gen Zers, I would venture to say that
Yeah,
because it is very relatable.
I agree. I definitely thought that TikTok is what you would say, and I agree with that for sure. So, last question. So you talked about that, this is as a marketer, it's a continuous process of improvement. What are two or three books you would recommend to somebody who wanting to learn more about marketing and further their knowledge of the field?
Um, well, I could name a million. One of the biggest ones for me though has been and this was actually what kind of inspired me to get into marketing too is it's a book called Brains on Fire, but it's also a company and it's
Mhm.
actually local here to Greenville, but they also have an office in Los Angeles. And um man, it's so granted, it was written back in about 2007, 2008-ish, probably. Um, I would say I would say from 2008 to 2010, it was probably somewhere in that realm. So it's older, but it's important for marketing for you to know what's worked in the past, whether it's current or not. And the guy who started Brains on Fire, his name's Greg Cordell, and he's actually I am so thankful to consider him a good friend of mine now. But he and a few others wrote this book, and he came to speak when I was at University of South Carolina to one of my classes, and that was when he talked about campaigns. But it was really very much before digital marketing really like hit the ground, and so it was about just bringing people together and having them get excited about something that a product could be involved in rather than the product itself. So it was focusing on the people, who they were, and it brought people together. And I read that book every year.
Wow. Okay.
It's very good. And it really just inspired me to get more into marketing. So that would be number one. For sure. Building a brand story is also extremely important. That's by Donald Miller. And it just, again, human focus. And it talks about how um, your customer is the hero of their own journey. And so how your product fits into that, and it creates a storyline for you to go by. As a graphic designer and strategist, that was my number one like roadmap into building everything. And 100% of the time it works every time. So it's
Awesome.
really good.
I'm gonna have to look into those for sure. So
Yeah.
the two
I
books I haven't heard of.
Yeah, I do want to name two. So for the third one is called Essentialism.
Uh-huh.
Um, and that's by Greg McEwen.
Mhm.
I am a wannabe minimalist in my home, in my work, and in my whole life. If I could be a true minimalist, I like am working towards that as much as I can with two small children and toys everywhere. But um for me, like personally, just decluttering, but also being ADHD and my mind just being 1,000 places at once, I realized that I need less to have more, like more quality. And so this is actually talking about having less, doing one thing really well instead of all of these. Basically, it makes an illustration of you have this circle and you have a lot of little arrows coming from that circle. But when
Mhm.
you have one long straight arrow, capitalizing on that, that's where you're really going to be successful. And I think in marketing, we're known for juggling all of the things all the time. And there's a lot of praise and recognition that comes from that. But to be honest, success comes from the people who really niche down and understand this one segment that they do well and stick to it,
Mhm.
and not worry about the competition and what everybody else is doing or taking every single opportunity that looks great, but really just like understanding who you are and how you can serve your audience well. So that was big.
That is huge. That's
Yeah.
perfect advice as well. So for anybody who's watching this and what I'm writing up, I love your content personally. So is the best way to get your content through LinkedIn?
Yes, I would love to find time to have another route to do that. I had a newsletter at one point and was thinking about starting that back up, but for now, LinkedIn is the best way. And I'm always, want to say I'm always open for a conversation with people if they ever want to talk as well. Um, but yeah, best way right now.
Connect, follow Elliot. That's the
Yeah.
advice.
Uh,
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you. I appreciate your content, and I really thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's great to talk to you and see you again.
Yep, we'll see you soon, okay?
All right. See ya.
Take care.